Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Social Media Millionaire podcast. I know I've been doing quite a few solo episodes recently, but Soren's back. We're going to do another episode together. So, this episode, we are going to be kind of diving into the differences between a 5-figure business, a 6-figure business, and then a 7-figure business. And we want to kind of talk you through essentially the things that we learned and kind of were doing at each of those different levels, and how you can kind of shift from one level of business to the next and make sure that you have all the foundations in place at every single level to be able to progress, scale, and ultimately see the results that you want. Because I feel like there's a lot of information out there in the online space in regards to what it takes to scale and what things you need to do to hit 6 figures or to hit 7 figures or to have your first 10K month. But I don't think that, from what I've seen, that there's really anywhere to go that gives you a really good strategic overview of everything that needs to be in place at each of those different levels of business.
The other thing I see like a ton of is people either overcomplicate it by like a lot, or they're focusing on the wrong things at the wrong levels. And it's really easy to do, especially with like social media, because there's just so many, for lack of a better term, gurus or the business influencers.
There's so many wannabe experts.
There's wannabe experts, and then let's say, and like there's people I follow out there that actually have built stuff, that actually know stuff. But the issue is, let's say they're building a 9-figure business. They're talking, and they're like systems. Well, at 9 figures, systems really matter, But when you're trying to make your first sale, who gives a rip?
Yeah, like no one cares.
You do that level, onboarding manually.
Right. No, exactly. It's like you're manually sending out contracts, and that's totally fine because your focus should be on, marketing and getting the lead flow, not on developing the back end.
And realistically, you're not even just manually sending, you're probably like writing the contract for the first time, and you don't even know how to write a contract.
And people
that you shouldn't.
They take those things that people talk about, like for example, the Hermosies, like no shade to them. This isn't about
tons of great content,
right? Like this isn't like a knock at them at all, but like what they're talking about at that level is great. Like it's great information, but like it's not useful for somebody who's like only made a couple of sales, because at the level that they're speaking of, like the team development and the leadership and the marketing, like what is working for them and is really going to be impactful and moving the needle for them at 9 figures is very different than somebody who isn't even making $100,000 a year yet. The focuses are going to be different. The capacity is going to be different. And it's like a lot of the advice they're giving is for like managing a team and building your systems. And what people do that are at that lower level is they see people at that higher level of business and see what they're talking about. And then they almost, I feel like, use those things as a crutch or as like procrastination tools, because they're like, oh well, Layla Hermosi said that I need to have this and this in place for my team. It's like you've made 3 sales, like you don't need to have that right now. Eventually you will, but people focus their energy in on trying to replicate the success of what other people at very high levels are doing, and they're skipping over the steps that they need to complete at a lower level to be able to progress and move through.
Well, and it's so funny, like people like try and analyze the Hormozy content strategy, and it's like that doesn't apply to you unless you are running an 8-figure business and you have $50,000 just to light on fire for content production every single month for at least a year until you get traction.
Yeah.
It doesn't apply to you.
It doesn't apply to you, and it's not going to work for you because people don't have the context of who you are. You don't have the brand authority, right? You don't have the skills to get on camera and even create that amount of content, right? And the thing is that for people at that level, it makes sense because what they're moving into is expansion, and what they're trying to do at that level is very different than what you should be trying to do to hit that first like 100K. Well, and like you and I have even been talking about this where like I like beat myself up about the content.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll even compare it to like the content performance of like some of our clients. And you're like, what are you doing? Like they're trying to hit 6 figures. You're trying to hit 8 figures. Like it's not even the same strategy or like playing field.
Yeah, like you're talking about needing to get hundreds if not thousands of leads per month versus getting like
50.
10 to 50. Yeah, like it's 2 different games, so
right.
And it's really easy to compare and contrast. And like people might look at us and be like, oh, I want to do that, but like you're in a B2C offer, not in like a B2B offer, or like kind of what we do is like a B2P. But
even if they do the exact same thing that we do, marketing the way that we currently are is not going to be effective for them at that like lower level because they don't have the account authority. They don't have a larger following. People don't have context to who they are. You don't have the audience built and the audience attention and the skills when it comes to the content creation to convert and like drive attention. And the thing is like we've also gotten really good at where we can make videos that don't even get as many views and we can make more money because we're good at conversion than the people that are getting millions of views in a month. But again, it's like we know how to do that because at our level, we know how to drive those conversions and make 7 figures, multiple 7 figures off of that. But for somebody who's like just starting out, if they're doing the same things that we're doing on social media, they're not going to have the same results because they don't have those skills. They don't have an entire sales team built out. They don't have setters and closers and the systems that we have. And so when people try to take like quote unquote advice by like trying to replicate what the bigger people in the industry are doing, they're shooting themselves in the foot. Because like it'll work for you eventually, but it's not going to work for you now.
Yeah, that's like one of the things. It's just, and I mean, I think we've even arguably done it some in our own business.
Oh, for sure.
I think we're better about realizing that now, but it's just, I mean, it's one of the easiest things just to like fall into and be like, well, I'm trash.
It's like, well, let's analyze what so-and-so's doing that's bigger than us. But the thing is you don't know why they're doing that. You don't know what they're testing. You don't know what the intention is inside of their business. It's like when people try to, even like when people will word for word copy like one of my videos and post it. It's like, you'd think that in theory that it would be beneficial to them because it's obviously working for us. But what they don't see is the fact that, oh, that video was strategically created to actually get certain people not to apply. Or that video was strategically created to answer this question or to overcome this objection. Or we were literally just testing that video because we noticed XYZ. So it's like trying to replicate the external of what you're seeing from somebody is literally impossible and like not impactful because again, like you could replicate the video word for word but not have the same impact because you don't know why we're doing that. You don't have the data. Like we could be intentionally trying to get certain people not to apply to work with us and then you put that video out and then you're like, oh gosh, why didn't I get any sales? Because like you just like turned off a huge segment of your audience but you didn't realize you were doing that, but like we were doing that intentionally.
And I mean, like for like a visual representation, it's like Wright Brothers first plane versus someone building an F-22 Raptor, right? Like,
yeah, like the systems are going to be different. The
amount of money you spend to develop it,
the
to
parts,
build out your
the materials,
systems.
like everything is going to be different. And that's the thing is like to be able to build like a 300-seater passenger plane, right? Like the difference between that and like the Wright Brothers OG glider, right? But you have to build the glider
to build the plane,
be able to build the plane.
But there's
eventually.
A million steps in between,
right? But what people try to do is they see the 300-seater passenger plane and they start to just like,
I want to
build
do that.
I'm going to build that, right?
Now, don't get me wrong. Generally speaking, it's easier to make more money if you add zeros onto a said thing. But
For sure.
But if you don't know how to do it, that's where you run into issues.
Right. And there's a learning curve, which is why people that also are like brand new to the online space and they're like, oh, I see these people like running a group program. Well, if you've never even sold a 60-minute strategy session, it's going to be very difficult for you to sell 10 spots in a group program. Now, on the flip side, is it so much easier to sell a high-ticket group program and get 10 people into it than it is to, like, sell enough strategy sessions? Absolutely. But again, it's a learning curve. You have to go through those steps. There's a path to follow. There's an evolution of learning. Mm-hmm. You don't just show up and launch a conference, you know?
I mean, yeah, if you try and, like, sell out, like, a 5,000, person live event, for your first time, you might not do it. Like, if you don't have a following, if you don't know the sales process, if you don't know like the systems you need, and that doesn't even include delivering it, right? So like,
and it's like, it's great to, set things up in the beginning with the intention of growth, but to a certain degree, it's also like, you don't even know what that growth is going to look like. Mm-hmm. So just do something.
Yeah. So like just, for example, just starting out, like marketing for 5 figures.
Yeah.
Where do we start?
Literally post 1 TikTok a day and just figure out how to create content that more than 200 people watch. Mm-hmm. Like that's the baseline.
I would add on to that. If you can, I can't remember what the pricing is on it, but in the beginning, I feel like people are so scatterbrained. It's usually not worth your energy to repost every platform. Mm-mm. But repurpose.io, you can at least get it out on every platform super easy. And I think at Max, it's like,
just like schedule it to go up everywhere.
You can schedule it. I mean, if that's your process, which again, a little bit more energy, like if you're going to edit your video and then, post it via Metricool, I think there's a little bit more energy in that versus like filming in TikTok app.
Repurposing a 6-figure, not 5.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if you can, like, get it out there without any extra energy or effort, like repurpose.io, you just set up the automation. It might not be fully optimized, but it gets you out there, it gets you some more views on different platforms, and helps you get more feedback.
Yeah. The intentional repurposing is definitely, like, the next level.
Yeah. Which is what I was saying is, like, a cool tool. Like, if you're just starting out, you can totally utilize it to, get a little bit more feedback, get a little bit more views.
But also, people will use that as a crutch. Mm-hmm. And procrastinate. They're like, oh, I have to set up repurpose.io instead of posting a video.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would say that, like, if you want to go fast as, to 5 figures, if you're that kind of person, that's when I'd use it. But it's not like a necessary thing. Again, just get your video a day out, get more than 200 people to watch it.
Yeah, because people, in the beginning, it's like, ultimately the questions that you're trying to answer are, number 1, what makes you different than other people in your industry? Number 2, what are you going to stand for, right? What's the thing that's going to make waves about you in your industry? And then number 3, how do you deliver that information in a way that other people are going to be receptive to it? Those are the 3 questions that you're trying to answer in the very beginning. And then your personal brand and your brand pillars and the strategy and the conversion and all of that, it will kind of, in my opinion and what I've seen with clients, is that it will naturally kind of fall into place if you just start with your differentiator and then go from there.
Mm-hmm. Last thing I'll add, because we kind of hit on it, mm-hmm. Obviously you want more than 200 views, but people sometimes will get in ruts, like 200 view jail, we like to call it. Mm-hmm. And people beat themselves up a ton for that.
Yeah.
But, if you had 200 people in your living room to listen to what you're passionate about for like 15 to 30 seconds,
you'd be shooketh.
Yeah. I'd have the hot sweats.
And so that's marketing. Just get your differentiator out there, basically, and start getting people talking back to you.
Now we've got some views. How do we turn those views into leads?
Sales. So it's like there's a couple different schools of thought, and I think it depends on like what your first offer is actually going to be. Mm-hmm. So like if there is somebody who's going to do like a one-on-one like coaching thing, mm-hmm. that would be like a Calendly link in the bio. literally just link to book a call, they pay, they book the call, like that's it. Or if you're going to do something lower ticket where it's like a membership, a course, an ebook, a template, whatever, then the link in your bio is actually to grab their email so that then you can retarget them through a very simple email sequence to then sell your low ticket offer.
And what I would say is if you're still in your 9 to 5, I would do the freebie to email list, text campaign, whatever. I do, that method, or to a free community, because it'll give you a more solid foundation down the road. At least in my opinion, if you have that community, if you have that
traffic and things to leverage,
like you can market to them whenever.
Then as you move into like, oh, okay, now I'm gonna do this like 1-to-1 call. Great, now you have a pool of people that you can market to.
And sales come easier when people have already received value from you.
Right. That's that building that yes ladder that you guys always hear me talk about, and the response conditioning. People are 83% more likely to buy from you if they've already bought something from you once. So even if it was a low ticket $15 template, they're 83% more likely now to buy a $500 strategy session with you, or to buy a $1,000 group program, right? 83% more likely. So I think that's a really great like foundational place to start for those 5 figures, because one, it's not going to take you a lot of time to deliver. It's pretty automated. Once it's set up, and then this, ties you right back to content. It gives you time and space to be doing the marketing and really figuring that out and understanding your audience and their needs and researching and talking back to them and starting those conversations if you're not also spending time delivering an offer. Marketing and content, it gets harder as you go, simply because you have more demands for your time. You start selling a group program, you start selling high ticket offers. Great. That's awesome. You made the money, you made the sales, your business is growing, but now you have less time to focus on marketing and sales and strategy, because you now have to deliver those services that you sold. So those beginning few months when you're hitting 5 figures are really pivotal, because it's the one time that you have to really just pour all of your time into marketing and understanding your audience.
So, and like with that being said, that like that's why your offer suite is like so important, and how you develop it. There's a couple of different ways you can go about it. There's the membership model, right? There's the course model. Newer is like it's still the membership model, but it's like mid to high ticket. So instead of charging like, $30 to $100, you're charging like $300, $400, $500, $1,000 a month. If you're doing like coaching services, obviously like product-based businesses, you have one-time sell products. If you can get in a product-based business, and we don't work a ton with them, but like if you can get in a recurring model, like subscription-based, that is a game changer for your business, because, builds in
that reoccurring revenue. You're not starting over every month.
Yeah, which I would love to learn more about this industry, but that's what I like. For example, I have several supplements I subscribe to, and I suspect that's why supplements are
really blowing up right now.
Well, I mean, everyone and their mom, it's like the I don't want to call it an MLM, but it's like the wannabe side hustle everyone does. Like if you can build a brand around it and get your traffic, because you consume it, you need more every single month.
Right. Anyways. It's a refillable product that you need.
And then back on service-based, kind of, you have your agency offers that are also recurring, get that MRR. And then you have your high-ticket coaching.
Or high-ticket service.
Yeah.
Like a website, social media management, agency.
Systems for 5-figure. Keep it simple.
Yeah, keep it simple. Like, you don't need that much to make 5 figures. You really don't need that much to make 6 figures either, but we'll get there. Honestly, all you need is a way to process payment, and then potentially that email software to retarget.
And this is a great opportunity. Like when you get your first sales call booked, go file your LLC, get your EIN number, set up your bank account, set up your payment processor. Boom. Yeah. Collect money.
That's what you need. You need like
Stripe,
probably
Wave.
a way to play on your content and start like at least brain dumping those ideas. This is the notes app in your phone stage that I make fun of on social media. And then you need a way to process payment and deliver whatever it is that you're selling. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yep. And then, that's that. Keep it that simple.
Keep it that simple.
Do not, and it's so tempting.
Don't spend time building your website and deciding on your brand colors and your brand pillars.
Email onboarding templates, fancy automations. No.
It's literally just a procrastination tool to make less money.
Your business is going to change so much that that automation will be broken within the next 3 months.
Yep, 100%.
And if you're like, oh, no. You don't understand, Soren. This is the offer I'm going to do for the next 10 years.
No, it's not.
Do you know how many times I've said that?
Do you know how many times we've set up an offer and we're like, oh, this is the one. Like, we're not going to change this ever again. And 2 months later, we're like switching to a totally different
And then it breaks
platform.
this automation, that breaks that automation. And then you have, some client you're onboarding and it doesn't go smoothly and it ends up costing you more than the time it takes you just to make sure that it is done in white glove service by yourself.
Yeah, just like keep it simple in the beginning. You don't need all that crap. So then 6 figures. So at this point, right, we've gone from posting a TikTok a day and like the most absolute basic payment processing that we can possibly do, right? Now we're actually building that brand identity. Mm-hmm. We want our brand to look a certain way, be more easily identifiable. We want to bring in the personal brand. We want to make it more robust. It's no longer just posting videos for views and trying to get a few sales. Now we're really building that more of what your legacy is.
It's time to hone it in a little bit.
Yeah. Really honing into like, what do you want to be known for? What do you want your brand to look like? What do you want it to feel like? Who are the people that you want to work with versus who are the people that you don't want anything to do with? What is that like? And really getting clarity around who it is that you're speaking to. You're building that ideal client. And the thing is that you'll hear everything that we're telling you to do at this 6-figure phase is what most people will tell you to do when you're first starting out. But the thing is that you don't need all of that. And like I said, it's a procrastination tool in the beginning.
Yeah, when you're first starting out, again, just to emphasize, you need a service you're going to offer, preferably, because no capital up front.
You need something to process payment, and you need content going out. That's it.
Yep.
That's it. So then at 6 figures, right, that's also where, like as Soren was saying with like the repurpose IO, or maybe we're bringing in Metricool. Mm-hmm. That's where we're starting to build across multiple platforms. So rather than just posting some TikToks, now we're optimizing our Instagram so people can go there and make sure we're a real person. We're repurposing those short form videos over to Instagram as well. Mm-hmm. We have some story highlights that are being built out. We're showing up on our stories consistently, right? We're actually going from views to community.
And 6 figures is a wide range.
Oh, yeah.
if you're like at $101,000, I don't recommend getting yourself a social media manager and optimizing for every platform because you're not there yet. Right. But if you're like, 300, 400, 500, you have room in your budget to hire someone part-time and say, hey, I need you to optimize this for every platform. Do it on Metricool.
Except they shouldn't be hiring a marketing person yet.
I'm just saying
not till
social media manager. Just a social media manager, so they're not taking their time to post.
A virtual assistant.
Or a virtual assistant.
At this level, you don't need a social media manager yet because you don't know enough about your brand and your marketing to be able to effectively train someone and give feedback. Mm-hmm. What you need is a VA to take certain things off your plate. So the admin things that you were doing previously, the systems that you're going to need to start building, any of the like client support, email management, the basic day-to-day admin, you can remove that from your plate because, again, your focus should be getting content out. That is still your focus at this level. And then you're also going to be moving into more of like a salesperson position at this level.
Sales.
Yeah. So this is where you're like optimizing. I said like optimizing your sales funnel, but it's actually just like creating a sales funnel. I guess they probably have a basic one if they're selling like a passive product. Mm-hmm. But like you probably are optimizing for more than one product. Maybe you have your low ticket and now you're selling like that strategy intensive or something.
Or you've added on a way to like upsell or retain clients after your initial product or service.
So we need a way to track the leads that we're getting and make sure that we're actually retargeting them. You can get set up with an actual CRM, or you can even just use something like ClickUp. If you're already using that to plan your content, there's templates that are free through ClickUp that you can use that are lead trackers. So you can track conversations you're having in the DMs on Instagram. You can track any leads that are coming through for like a higher ticket offer, or people that are booking calls with you, anybody that books like a sales call, anybody who DMs you asking about your product or service, right? This is where the manual lead tracking is happening at this stage. So you want to make sure that you have basically a list of the people that are interacting, the people that are potentially interested in buying from you, because now we're bringing in a lot more of that follow-up. You might be adding on a second email flow as well. That's a follow-up sequence for some of the people at that level. So again, at 6 figures, what do we really need to run the business? We need a way to process payments. We need a way to track leads. And then we potentially need that email system to follow up. That's still very minimal.
And honestly, you can probably still use Google Sheets or Excel to track your leads. Google Sheets super easy because, and you might at this point, like depending on what your price point is and how many sales you're making, you might want to use like automation tool like Zapier to like move those leads in. But again, if you're using like Typeform or Calendly for lead collection, you can usually just integrate it directly with a Google Sheet and have those leads populated there.
Or ClickUp.
ClickUp.
Or Asana or any other project manager. Because again, if you're using those to like plan content and manage content,
it's a good location to also have that other information.
You're probably going to want to start adding one of those things on if you have a VA so that you can manage what they're doing. Then it makes sense to also track leads there.
The other thing that I would add in here is when I said look at the automation. I said it is one simple task. It is simply taking data from one location and passing it into another location, and it is internal. You don't want to screw around with trying to get internal data out to your clients. You don't want to, again, at 6 figures, you don't want to do that, because unless you're doing thousands of sales a month, which again, look at your price point at 6 figures. If you're doing thousands of sales a month, you probably don't want to do that unless you're doing like low ticket digital offers, right?
Yeah.
But like if you're doing like high ticket or membership or anything like that, you don't need that. You just you really don't.
And everyone and their mom is going to sell you a Dubsado build out or tell you to use Honeybook and get the contracts and do this and do that.
Don't waste $5,000 on that.
Don't waste $5,000 on that. You don't need it at that level.
And again, because like you're like, wow, cool, I'm balling, I'm making 6 figures, I'm gonna scale this sucker to 7, or maybe you're happy with 6, right? Whatever.
It's still
your business
like,
will still change.
Unless you're making $500K a year, it's still like barely a business. Because at that point, like you
can't afford
a really high paid employee.
Yeah,
basically,
you're working for yourself.
Yeah.
You might have a couple of subcontractors to do things part time for you to make your life easier.
But you really haven't reached that this is a business yet.
Yeah. You're making ChatGPT work 24/7.
But at that point, like, there's not a lot that you need. And that's, I guess, kind of the key point that I want to communicate through this episode. If you take nothing else away from this, do not overcomplicate with systems. In the beginning, before you hit your first 7 figures, systems are not going to make you more money.
Marketing and sales.
Marketing and sales. Those are the lifeblood of your business. All of these other things that people try to sell you is just that. Something that they are trying to sell you. You do not need it. You can make 7 figures without a website, without a big team, without professionally done branding. You don't need any of that. What you need is marketing going out on social media consistently. You need a way to turn those leads into sales, and then you need a way to deliver whatever that thing is that you sold. That is all you need. Again, you'll start bringing in the lead tracking. You'll start kind of optimizing so that you're not losing money there. But it's not a need. So then we move into the product suite at 6 figures. This is where you're probably bringing in some higher ticket, but I hesitate to call it high ticket because it's usually between like what, 2,000 and 5,000.
I mean, I think high ticket. I mean, anything kind of over
like
4,
5K plus.
Yeah, well, I mean, inflation. Yeah, because like 1 to 4, you're kind of in this weird range. Like you have courses that are priced at like 3-4K, right? Like
no, exactly.
It might be like a high ticket course, for example, but it's not like high ticket, right? It's not like a 15K or
like
40K a year for a mastermind or whatever.
You're bringing in those mid ticket offers that probably at this level it feels like a lot of money to you, but it's not, because there will be people that will pay you $50,000 for something similar to what you're doing now, right? So it's really not that much money, but you're starting to bring in those kind of mid-ticket offers where it's taking you a little bit more time to deliver. It's a little bit of a higher-end client experience, but it really feels to you like it's just a big amount of money, and you'll see it kind of start to snowball and add up. Now, this is typically where people are doing, 10 to 12K per month, and what happens? They start to get burnt out. They start to get overwhelmed. At that point, that is when we bring in the systems. Now, again, people like to overcomplicate this because they want to sell you something. What do you actually need to do? For 1 week, you need to track absolutely every task that you do. What do you do from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, and how long does it take you? Write down absolutely everything. The things that don't require your face or your voice, those are the things that are going to be further offloaded to that VA that you have, right? We're going to then comb through, see if there's anything else that you're doing that is something that could be automated, or is it taking longer than it could if we created a better system for it, okay? Now is when we start to bring some of those systems in just to kind of grease the wheels and make things run a little bit smoother and condense the amount of time that you are spending so that, again, you can focus on marketing and sales, because that should continue to be your focus until you have a team where then running your team is your focus. So that's 6 figures. Now, to push to 7 and then to run at multiple 7, what needs to happen? Let's start with marketing.
At this point, you need to be substantial on multiple platforms.
Yeah. This is where, like,
you can do it on one.
comes in, we're doing multiple platforms. Yeah, you absolutely can do it on one.
The risk gets high, in my opinion. Because at this
agree.
point, you're probably going to have 1 or 2 at least full-time contractors, maybe an employee. And let's be real, like, if you're paying yourself $400K a year, you don't want that to go away.
Right.
It's
like, oh, crap, my TikTok got shut down. What now?
Yeah.
So this is where it's like, okay, we want you on TikTok. We want you on Instagram. We want a website that's starting to rank for SEO. We want your email list to be more robust. And then this is where I would personally bring in like one form of long form content and then make sure that we're repurposing to Pinterest. Because Pinterest is going to give you very easy visibility. Are you going to see like a direct uptick in sales the second you start posting on Pinterest? No. But it's going to help more people. You're going to reach a lot more people. You're going to have posts that help you rank on Google. So it's going to help with your domain authority. You're going to be directing more people to your website. You're going to have multiple ways that people can find your YouTube or your podcast or your offers, right? By linking back to Pinterest. And it's a really easy way to take everything that you're already doing and kind of just throw gasoline on the fire with that. And again, just expose your brand to so many more people. Now, you'll also want to be going from just posting once a day on TikTok to actually improving the performance. So now we're wanting to double down on looking at analytics, analyzing what's working and what's not, seeing if we can correlate what was posted with the days that we had more sales and more applications. Now we're really doubling down on the data that we've collected from doing this consistently. We're restructuring our offers to be more easily deliverable and probably raising the prices. And now the systems start to matter a little bit more.
I would also say sales. You probably have 1 or 2 sales reps.
Yeah, you'll
depending
start
on your
on
price
a sales
point.
rep. Yeah.
And you really want to track your sales metrics. So you want to track number of booked calls. You want to track your show rate. You want to track your offer rate. You want to track your close rate. And you want to track close revenue / and or upfront cash collected. Those are the big metrics you want to watch, because that's like the lifeblood of your business, right?
Right.
You know, you don't get booked calls, you don't make sales. You don't have people show up to calls, you don't make sales. Your sales rep doesn't offer, you're not going to close.
The offers.
And if you don't close, you don't get revenue. So, you know.
We also need to know what are the core or like the key objections that you're getting. Because now also with these systems and with this tracking, this is when we really start to connect your marketing team with your sales team. So what are they hearing on calls? What is really attracting people to you? What objections are they getting? Now this needs to be infused into your marketing, and you're taking what your sales reps and your closers are hearing, and you're also infusing that into your marketing. And your business as a whole, right, starts to become, rather than individual inputs and outputs, it starts to become an ecosystem where our sales team is feeding into our marketing team. Our marketing team is being fed by our offers and our delivery and our customer support, because we're hearing what people are saying and needing, so we're refining our content. Our content and data is really being tracked. We're really doubling down on what we're seeing is working. We're getting rid of what's not working, and we're really focusing our time on the things that are going to move the needle. Now, even at this level, okay, we've added in a degree of team management and training. But your core responsibility is still marketing and sales, because now you have a team that is relying upon you as the founder. And what happens is, where a lot of people go wrong, is they dive fully into delivery and development of their offers, which, albeit is important, you will not have the space to deliver and develop if you don't continue to have marketing going out consistently. Now, this is where the systems really make a difference, because it shouldn't be taking you hours and hours and hours and hours a week to get that marketing out consistently. At this point, you should have put out enough content and have a good enough idea of what it is that's actually activating to people and pulling people into your business, that instead of, spending a couple hours a day creating more content, we're batching content that we know is impactful, and we're spending maybe an hour or 2 a week on content. Right? So it's still happening consistently, but you can see how, like we talked about in the beginning, right? We had to go through this evolution, right? Let's start with marketing, what that evolution had to look like. With marketing, if you had started out on that 7-figure level of batch creating content 1 hour a week, you wouldn't be getting anywhere, right? Because you wouldn't have had the space to learn and test and collect data. You would just be batching content and posting a bunch of crappy content that isn't doing anything, right? So you had to come through that evolution. Same thing with your sales team. If you didn't know and had learned how to create those initial sales in the beginning, then you wouldn't know how to train your sales team. You wouldn't know how to answer questions or develop them and improve their closing rate if you hadn't gone through that evolution. If you just hired a sales rep at the beginning, you'd still not be making any sales, right? So there's this evolution. If you just started out with a $15,000 group program at the very beginning, you would have had no idea how to sell that and how to market that, right? So you had to go through that evolution, which is why when we say, when you look at what the bigger people in your industry are doing and try to replicate that at that level, it's not going to do anything for you. You have to start at the beginning and keep it simple and not get taken by all these people that are trying to sell things to you. Because you don't need it. You don't need a ton of systems. You don't need a ton of team members. You don't need a ton of contractors. You need marketing. You need sales. You need a way to process the payment. That's it.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know. I don't think there's anything left to add.
I don't think so either. And that's the thing, is like with business, people overcomplicate it so dramatically, and it really isn't that complicated.
On the system side, I would add in this is the bonus. This is the leadership section.
Yeah.
With sales, you should probably be doing like a BOD, beginning of day sales team meeting, get them pumped up. But more importantly, go over the numbers, train with them.
See, but that's multiple 7 figures. Even that's not like $1 million. That's doing like 2, 3, 4.
But I mean, I would start it around then.
Yeah.
If you're hitting a 7-figure run rate, I would start it.
Yeah.
Just because if not, like if your sales reps go from closing 40% to 20%, you're gonna go from $1 million business back down to $500,000.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah.
So.
Daily check-ins and forms, and not just for your sales team, but also for your marketing team, for like people that are client facing, getting some sort of like a daily check-in, even if it is just a form being submitted to you, is really important.
You need to be able to see the numbers.
Yeah.
You need to be able to look and be like, okay, so, we had 3 TikToks go out today, 2 Reels, 1 YouTube video, whatever, right? This is how many views we got. Awesome. This is how many leads we got. Check. This is how many people showed up to calls. Awesome. Close. Right. Revenue. Boom.
At that point, it's like, okay, we need a high level overview of like, what is everybody in the team working on? Is everything moving forward? And we need the system to manage the team rather than you managing the team.
Mm-hmm. If not, you're gonna run into problems. You're gonna be like, oh man, I did $1 million last year. I only did $650K this year. What happened?
Why? What happened?
And it's going to come down to that. It's not going to have, because, and when people say systems, we love to involve software. Just love it. It's probably, as entrepreneurs, I don't know why, we just love to find new softwares.
Yeah.
And implement them and use them. But the systems that actually matter.
Procrastination tool.
Yeah. The systems you actually need are just things basic. That you do. It's like a schedule.
It's so simple.
Get up, spend 2 to 3 hours a day on making sure your content and your marketing is good to go, an hour on sales, and then the rest of it's used to run the business.
Yeah. And then at this point, which we'll get into in a different episode, this is where we move into, okay, what are those high-level systems? How do we know exactly where every piece is being moved in the business? How do we know exactly how much time is being spent where? What is the data? What are the metrics we're looking at? What are the KPIs? How do we assess what the gaps are? What do we do on a daily basis, like as a founder? And then how do you actually move from working in the business to working on the business and make sure that you have time management and systems, basically some sort of software in place that's going to hold you accountable so that you don't have to use brain power thinking about it, right?
Yeah. Last bonus from me on this one is, and this kind of applies, 5-figure, 6-figure, all the way up to 7, is bottlenecks.
Yeah.
Sometimes you think you know what the bottleneck is, but you don't. So like for a while, for example, we were having like 200 to 300 leads come in a month, like book calls. And with my sales experience, I was in door to door. So like a 10% closing rate, you're cooking, if you're closing like 1 out of every 10 decision makers, you're doing pretty good. And we were closing at 20. So I was like, okay, I was doing market research, and I was like, okay, I feel like we're doing pretty good. So our bottleneck is leads, but in all reality,
it was our close rate. We had plenty of leads. We needed to be closing a 60%.
And the one thing that I didn't realize is people who run ads, they like to talk about their numbers a lot. And if you're running ads, you have to talk about numbers because you're putting capital behind it. You have to have an ROI.
Right.
And so people talk about close rates, people talk about ROAS, people talk about CAC, all these different really cool things. But we do organic content. We have a short form funnel. And people who do that don't talk about it at all. Hardly anywhere.
A lot of them don't know how to track it.
Either they don't know how to track it, or they have something going good and they don't care, or
they're like, it's good enough, it's working.
Or the really big businesses that make a lot of money from organic, they also run ads, like targeting ads,
and
to
so
their
they
following.
don't know how to differentiate.
And the attribution's all
yeah
to crap, right?
Yeah.
So that was like the big thing, is I thought we were good based off of the numbers I found, but we weren't.
Right. It's like we didn't really actually know what the bottleneck is. So we're like spinning our wheels with like, how do we get more leads in with marketing? But it's like, that wasn't even the problem. We had the leads. We just needed to develop the closers. So that's where having, and this isn't a sales pitch, doesn't have to be us. It could be anyone. It could be your mother. Doesn't matter. Having somebody that has an outside perspective that is able to assess what the gaps are in your business, because likely what you think the problem is not the real problem, because you're too close to it. I mean, we've even been experiencing that recently as we're pushing towards 8 figures now. Is in my head, I'm like, well, this is the problem, but like, it's not.
Nope.
Nope. And so sometimes you need a third party that can kind of step back and assess your business and really see what the holes are, or what the inefficiencies are, or where we're kind of doing things double that we don't need to be doing, or where you're doing things or not focusing on the right things, right? There's so many different areas that you might not be able to assess because you're so focused on the day-to-day of the business. You're not able to take a step back and see big picture.
I will add that with all of the money that we've invested in coaching, we have got a 10x plus return if you look at total revenue generated. We've had some coaches where, it's not been a great experience, and we've had other coaches where it's just been,
phenomenal,
knock it out of the ballpark type scenario.
Yeah.
But that's like the thing is, like, sometimes you have to take risks in business. But yeah. It's like differentiating your risk. So, I mean, that's like the biggest advice I can give is, continually invest in your own education for your business,
Yeah, at every level. But again, don't allow educating and developing yourself to become yet another procrastination tool. Because you can read every book in the world, but if you never implement anything, you're still not making any money.
Yep. And talking about making money, I wanted to say this when we're talking about 6 figures. You really think you're balling when you're making multiple 6 figures, especially if you never made that in your job before.
And then you make $1 million and you realize that that's like no money.
And even still, either level, be intentional about putting a certain percentage aside that you pay yourself to invest.
Oh my gosh, financial management is like a whole other episode.
Yeah. We'll have to go on that another time, but, make sure you're doing that. I will talk about it on every episode I have an opportunity to, because...
Finance nerd.
Well, it's just what I love the idea of you can start a business, you can create a ton of value in the business, and you can also transfer that value. So you're like, you secure your future, right? And you still have a business that's worth a lot of money.
That's
right?
printing money for you as well.
So,
yep.
Make sure your business prints money. That's it.
So that's kind of our high level overview of like what you need at every single level. And I feel like there's going to be people that disagree. And I also feel like this is going to bring so much relief to many people who are like focusing on their brand colors and their website. And it's like, you haven't even, made $50K a month yet. Like, you shouldn't be anywhere near that. So hopefully it actually comes as a relief to a lot of you, where it's like, this is really the bare bones that you need, and it's just all about marketing. So if you can double down there and really have that direction of like, okay, this is what I should be focusing on, rather than feeling pressure coming from every different direction to try to build out all of these different things. Hopefully this really comes as a relief and some direction to you so that you can double down on what really matters and reach your goals faster. The final thing that I'll say, kind of to close off this episode, is as you're setting these different targets and goals, whether it's 5 figures, 6 figures, 7, 8, 9, it doesn't matter. Don't focus on the actual monetary target. Focus on setting goals around the actions that are going to be required to get you there. So you'll notice where we said 5 figures, we didn't assign dollar amounts to that, right? What we're focusing on is we need to have a piece of marketing go out every single day. So we're hitting action-based goals rather than monetary-based goals. Same thing with 6 figures. Very big range as to what that would look like. We want you to set action-based goals and focus in on the things that we've mentioned as what are the kind of key indicators and the key things that you want to be focusing on at each level, and really assessing your success based off of the consistency of those markers that are going to move you towards the target rather than the target itself. So that is it for this episode. If you learned something,
please, I'm not begging you, but please leave a review.
Leave a review. Share this episode with somebody that you think would benefit from it. Send it to your biz bestie that's like hella stressed about their brand colors or something.
Yeah.
And if you have any questions at all, my DMs on Instagram are always wide open. I'm always so happy to chat with you guys about any questions that you have, about any concerns that you have, anything that our different episodes or any of our content brought up for you. So my DMs are always open. Please never hesitate to slide in. I'm always so excited to chat through anything with you guys. And you can find us on TikTok. I have personal accounts, Ken Delaney. We have a Laney Media TikTok account. Instagram, I'm Kenda.Laney. And we also have a YouTube channel. So if you're wanting some more kind of long form content where you can take some more insights and kind of apply them to your business, that is there. We also have a free community called the Millionaire Archives that I would highly recommend hopping into as well. We've got quite a few modules.
Yeah, if you're not in there, you're missing out.
Yeah, in there. And, you know, we're building that out in the coming...
Secretly, you heard
months.
It here first. It's going to have a lot of stuff in there to help you generate leads for your business.
Yep, 100%.
So if you're not in there, you're going to miss out.
Yes.
And I'm also...
The camera just shut off, so...
Oh, shoot. Perfect timing.
Anyway, thanks for being here.
And yeah, follow me on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Soren.Laney. And we'll let you guys go. Have a good one.
See you in the next episode.